In tonight's episode, what we're going to do is we're going to have a look at Apprentice tools. And what I've done is I've pulled out a few of my own tools and a few of one of my apprentices' tools to give you advice. And what we're going to do is we're going to start off with the most important and obviously go down to some of the luxury items that you probably don't need so much when you first start off, but it's good. And we're going to have a little look, and I'm going to give you a little tips and that along the way of what you should be looking for. Right, let's get into it. Roll the intro. Good evening, fellow groove riders. Will from Will's Electrical Services, also known as the Midfield General. In tonight's episode, what I wanted to do is I want to give you a quick tour of some of the tools that I've hand-picked from some of my tools and some of one of my apprentice, Tom Ebbs's tools. What it is I've got a couple of full-time apprentices, and I've also got Lenny, who comes in part-time because he's training for a bit of work experience. And what it is what I thought I would do is I'll give you a quick tour of some of their tools, some of my tools, and explain some of the things. So when you come to buy yours, some of the things that you can think about when you're buying them, because obviously I'm a tool fan, but some of these are very expensive. And the first time round, like I remember 20 odd years ago when I was an apprentice, I was when I first went to buy all my tools, I didn't have a clue and all that. I didn't have anything to think about of what you could and should buy and all that. So what I thought I'd do is I'd do an in-depth. I must apologise, it does look a bit untidy, but there's no other real way of doing it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to probably go through the most important tools to some of the luxury ones at the end and all that, which you probably don't need straight away and all that, and we'll do that. So but before we get into it, if you could do us a massive favour, if you could show us your support, and if you could like, subscribe and flick my bean, it helps the channel grow. What it is we're going to start off with is the first one is because unfortunately there's a lot of apprentices and trainees that unfortunately don't actually complete their training, so you don't want to come wading in with all the best tools. You can go back and look. I've got a whole catalogue of loads of different videos of tools, like of all the top ones and all that. So what we start off with is this one is a Stanley. This is a 20-ounce claw hammer. This has got a fiberglass handle. I think I paid about £7 for this. I think you can still buy it from Amazon for about 12 quid. I use an E-swing, and I've also got the Wearer and the other ones. I've done a video of that. I'll put a link above. This one's £10 quid. I think it's probably still about £7. I think that's an absolute bargain. You don't have to spend a lot on that. There's not a lot to it, is there? You know what I mean? And whereas Stanley is still a respectable brand, this one is this is Tom Ebbs one, because I use the stability level all the time because it's the one that most of the scaffolders use and all that. But this is just equally as good. One of the main things I would say about this is what you got to think about when you're buying it is I would definitely get a metal one, and obviously get one with magnets on that, like earth magnets, because especially now in domestic we've got obviously the consumer units are now metal and all that, and obviously all the recessed boxes are all metal as well. So you might, it is quite critical that you get a magnet, one with magnets in it. The reason why I say about the metal ones is because obviously the plastic ones, they twist, because obviously where they go in the tool bags, oh sorry, I've moved them, they're over this side now, but I'll show you at the end like the tool bags, which I suggest. But these, because obviously it all gets thrown in at the end of the day and all that when you're trying to make an early dart and all that, they do get twisted, and that's what happens. Another good way you can to test the level as well is that if you put that up against the wall, upside down, or it don't really matter, draw the line, turn it round, and then draw the line. That's a good way of testing to see if it's still level, because if it's twisted, the lines will be out. Or get a newer one and do it, and then test it with that, and then do the lines. That's a good way of testing it. The next one is, I wouldn't say these are that important, but they're handy anyway, is that these are pad saws, and these for cutting holes in dry lining walls or rock walls, depending where you are. Obviously in the United Kingdom we call it dry lining walls. But what this is Ebbs's one, and I've given this is an old Stanley one, but this has a fixed blade, and this one is my Klein tool one. And most of all the other brands do this. It's not unique to this brand. Is the foldaway blade, and this is definitely something that I would recommend is a foldaway one, because one reason, it also locks in various different positions as well. It's not just like straight out. One of the things that I would recommend for it is, because obviously it's got this little button lock, this particular one, is when it's in your tool bags and all that, and it's like that, you don't half scratch your hands, and also it can damage your bag as well. So I would always recommend a fold away one with that. Stanley do it, DeWalt do it, I think Irwin do it. You know, you could pay up to about 20 quid. I think the Stanley one's about a tenner, you know. And one other thing is if you do go for a fixed blade one, and because you don't like that because it's too expensive, what the difference is in quality is that the cheaper ones that you can get for under a tenner, the blades are really thin, so when you're cutting it, you can't cut straight and all that. But this one has you know, this one's probably about 10 years old, but you know, it wouldn't take long to straighten the blade and all that. The next thing, what I would say is a tape measure, and that is definitely something I wouldn't cheap out on. This is the Stanley Fax Max, the blade armor they call it. This is a 5 meter one. This is actually for my test kit, this one. I usually, in my normal hand tools, I usually have 8 meter, but I do have various different, you know, I'm a tool fan, so I'm gonna have loads of different types I've got. But if I was to recommend to you, I'll definitely go for the Fat Max ones. You know, the only thing that really goes wrong with it sometimes is the old belt clip comes a bit loose, but that's not a problem. You notice it before it falls off. And it's really reliable tape. The only one thing it hasn't got, which a lot more of the newer style tapes have got, is that they've got a magnet there, which isn't a problem, but it's a really reliable tape. Because the trouble is if you buy anything cheaper than this, what you find is if they're smaller, because this blade is about 1 inch wide, you know, so it's really strong, so it can hold out. Because if they're small, they collapse. It's really painful, you know. I wouldn't even entertain. If out of any of this, I wouldn't cheap out on the tool, on the tape. Now we've got the screwdrivers. These, funny enough, I'm absolutely obsessed with them. You only got to go through any of my old videos and all that. I absolutely love them. But these are the Wearer. These are called the Comfort ones. And oddly enough, these are really cheap. They're about, you can buy them from Screwfix. You can buy them from Screwfix or tool stations. They're like shops in the UK and all that, tool shops in the UK. And you can usually spend about 12 quid on them, and they come in a full set. They're really nice. They're the cheaper versions of those ones, but I actually prefer these type. These are actually in my test kit at the moment, you know, but I've got so many different types and all that, but I just thought they're not a bad driver for the price. They're really good. The one thing about the screwdrivers that you find now is because they've never gone up on price, the quality has gone down, and like what you find is a lot of the screwdrivers go blunt really quickly, but they're okay. I'll definitely try them, you know, like all my other apprentices have followed me with Falcon, you know, they're like the Facom ones, you know. I've done a video, like, just search for it, or I put it above, you know, it's perfect. Next thing is a hacksaw, you know. This is a square frame, this is a CK one. I'm not sure if they still do this model. I very rarely personally use hacksaws now because I've got power tools to make up for them, but you should really have one of these on you. I carry it around in the van all the time, but I don't carry it in my tools. And you know, as long as like a square frame, as long as it's heavy, you can get a decent one for about 15 quid, you know. The only thing is you can buy them really cheap, but the more expensive it is, I'd look at the weight. If you could look for the description to see the weight, the more heavy it is, the more easier it is to control and, you know, pump along as well. The next thing is the cutters. Like, these are the versions I use. You know, some of these you might not have seen. Some these I call these the TT cutters. They're like croppers. Every single brand do them. You got CK, Baco, Klein tools. I've never had the Klein tool ones, but these ones here, you usually get them, I think you usually get them where they're 8 or 6 inches, you know. I like the 6 inches. All three of these are Ebses, you know, they've come out of these tools. But like, these are the ones you've got to stay clear of, these ones here. I will put a close-up picture of them, and these are the ones off Amazon. I think they're about a £5 or two for under a tenner, and like, you can get, the handles are awful. Like, Ebsy even bought these. He bought them last weekend, and he's already bought these ones. You know, these are the Helliman TT cutters that you can get from the wholesalers. You can't actually get them from you can't actually get them off Amazon. I did search for them, but you can get the CK ones, but they're quite expensive. But personally, and all of us on my firm use the Hellerman TTC cutters. They're absolutely perfect. Just go to your local electrical wholesaler and they'll have a set, or they'll be able to get you a set, and they're about tenner, you know, and they're absolutely perfect. The next thing is a bit of advice I would have for you, is a knife, like a pocket knife and all that. What I would certainly do if I was yourself is I would definitely get one with a tool brand on it, you know, because obviously, unfortunately at the moment in the UK there's a massive problem with knife crime and all that. So, and I'd always get one with a fold-away blade. You know, there's various different types. You know, that's, I can't, you know, obviously mention that enough, is get one with a tool brand on it. Because, and also the only advice I would have with you, because I carry my flip one around with me all the time, but with other tools. Obviously, at my age, I'm not going to get pulled over for knife crime, but I'd obviously have a screwdriver or something like that. All my lads always have a P-cut and the volt stick in there as well. So obviously, if they get pulled over, because, you know, like, you know, it's hard to defend yourself because it's illegal to carry around a knife because of that. But yeah, the next thing I would say is the old magic cutters. These are absolutely brilliant. You can get these from Tool Station. These are the CK ones. You can go online, there's so many different variants. These are the Klein tool ones, and they're, you know, they've got other bits like the crimpers, which ain't quite really allowed in the UK, because you got to use a proper compression gland, sort of like ratchet cutters, where these are. You got cutters there. What they're really good for is cutting twin and earths. They're even good for commercial, for the LSF white cables. It's really hard to touch. You know, these are the basic version. I've got a Klein tool version, but these you can pick up usually from Screwfix or Tool Station for about 12 quid, you know, or you know, up to 20 quid, where the Klein tool ones are 40 quid. But we actually call these the magic cutters, because when you're doing flex and all that, it's absolutely beautiful. The only problem is sometimes it does mark the cable, but it doesn't damage the cable, but it marks it. Next thing is just a basic set square. You don't have to go too crazy. This is an orange, so that's a Baco one, and you can usually buy one for under a tenner. This is a 12-inch. I also do the 6-inch, which is dirt cheap. Even Starrett do it. What I like about these ones, which I find beneficial, which I would recommend one of these, is that you can actually remove the ruler. So if you're marking up like the Paxilin or doing any slots in the trunking, you can actually take that out and use that as a straight edge. So you've kind of got two tools as one, so you don't actually have to carry around a ruler. I'm probably going to struggle to get that in now, aren't I? What knob? I'll leave that like that. Yeah, the next thing I'll show you is some VDE insulated hands, like pliers. Like these are the S&Rs that Ebbs has got, and these are just the pliers. He's got long nose and all that, and side cutters. I personally think you don't have to go too expensive with them. I've obviously got every type of brand, but you know, just get some cheap ones to get you going. And then obviously, if you like the better quality ones, what you do, like what you don't. Because I personally don't really carry around pliers, because I usually carry around grips, but I'll show you them later anyway. But the thing is with them is that if you're not going to use them, then you know, you don't have to. Just give them a go. It's nicer to have them, but you know, like you don't want to. You can usually buy the set of 3. If you can get the set of 3 for a minimum tenner, because I know the Draper Experts are about a tenner each, and they're a good place to start. You know what I mean? You know, like you got to be careful. You know, these are professional tools, so they don't want to be too cheap. You know what I mean? You don't want to get like 3 for a tenner. God knows what they'll be like. Well, the next bits I'll show you is obviously a junior. This is a Baco one, about 2-3 quid. You know, as long as you know it's okay. You use that quite often for like steel wired armors, like cables and stuff like that. Next thing is just a bastard file. They call it a bastard file. I don't know why. I've known it for like 30 years. I still laugh when I call it a bastard, but it's just a file. You know, you don't have to spend a lot of money on this, because obviously the different value, the file is the file, and the handles a different price really. If you know, you could buy them without handles as well and make your own and stuff like that. But I would always recommend getting a bastard with the half moon on the top, because you get 2 for 1 for this. You can still use, if you're using galv conduit and all stuff like that, you can still deburr it and like ream it all out as well as doing like the as well as doing the deburring the metal trunking and all that, so it's perfect. And then the next bits I'll show you is the adjustables. These ones are the Baco ones. These go up to 40mm, so these are good for armoured, they're good for all nuts, so you've basically got every spanner up to a 40mm there, just in one leaf. This is a Baco. Sorry, that's my iPhone going off. This is a Baco one, so it's, you know, what I like about this is really reliable, and it's got a comfortable handle. These are pretty cheap, 20 quid. You don't have to worry. You can buy whatever you want with the adjustables. There's not really a lot can go wrong with them. They can get a bit stuck, but I've always used Baco, so they've been reliable since day one. And these are I think these are what are they? 250 long. 250 long. These are the Knipex Cobra's grips. What I would definitely recommend about these is, which I mentioned in other videos, is that I'll definitely get one with a button. The reason being is that they can't slip if they've got the button, because if you go for the cheaper ones without the button, Irwin do them, Milwaukee do them, you can buy loads of these for under 20 quid. Just make sure you get the ones with a button so they don't slip, because when you have the alligator ones, like Google that or whatever you want, the Knipex alligator ones without the buttons, they slip because they're all relying on the little joint there, and they slip. And you know, honestly, you can seriously get a bad injury with that. And obviously with that, you could do armours, rods, unistrut, you know, loads of stuff, you know, tightening, all stuff. It's a perfect tool, and these will last you forever. You know what I mean? As long as it's the same as most of these. Is if you get the Knipex Cobra, they'll last probably all your career, or as long as until you lose them anyway. And now we come to the very end, and I'll show you a quick tour of some of the test kit that you need, you should have, or you could have, you know what I mean? You should be working live anyway, but you should be supervised. I'll show you these first. These are the two-prong voltage detectors. This particular version are the dialogue, so they don't have a digital display. Don't really matter. One of the most important tools you're ever going to have is continuity tester. That is so great, that is. I've got so many different types of these. These are really nice. These are the dialogue. These particular ones got a little torch on the end, which is handy. This goes from 12 volts up to 690. It also tells you whether it's DC or AC, and plus and all, it tells you the phase rotation, which is a bit too heavy for what what I'm trying to show you here, but they're about 30 quid. I've done loads of reviews of other ones, but you know, anything for 30 quid. This is a little find, because I bought myself one, and I bought my two Apprentices one as well. Like this is a TSI. This is a socket tester, and what it is, it shows you the polarity, or it shows all it is. All you got to do is plug it in. I'll try and test it. One of the key things I'd make sure that you get is that you get an audible one, because if you've got sockets in other rooms, you know, the other side of the house, other side of the building, other side of the office, anything like that, you'd actually physically have to walk over and have a look, and it'd be the biggest regret. And I think I bought that from Electric Centre for under a tenner. I think I paid about 8 quid for that. It's unbelievable. And this is one of my prized tools. This is a new one, and funny enough, I bought both the Apprentices this as well. It's absolutely brilliant, and this is a non-contact volt detector. And what it is that I'm sure you must have seen it. I think the Americans call it a voltage sniffer. Is that if you put it near cable like that, it detects it, because it's on green on standby, so you know it's on. Then when you go close, it's red. It's also got a button for the 12 volt as well. It's also got on there, so it's got a torch on the bottom, so you can see where you're going with it, which is really handy. And then on the other end, it's got a torch, which is really handy. So that is 2 in 1. And me and all the boys and all that, we use that more often than we do the actual thing. And this is not for proving dead, but it's good to know. Just quickly check it, you know what I mean? It's handy to have, you know what I mean? And I have that in my pocket all the time as well. And it's brilliant. And what I've got is the lads really like this bag. Like, this is Ebbs's little bag, and he likes it. It's just a Stanley little tote bag and all that, so you put it all in there. Really handy. I think it's about 20 quid. Perfect little bag. what I always used to have until I got a new Vito bag, I've done a review, I'll put the link up above, is that this little CK one. And this is 23 quid on Amazon at the moment, but it's red and black now because this is about, I think this is about 10 years old. It's a part of an old tool system. And Amazon at the moment, you can buy the tool system for 39, or you can buy this on its own for 29, and you can get most of that in there. It's absolutely pucker, it is. It's really good. Like, you know, this is perfect. The only thing is I didn't like it was open, and plus I wanted to give it a big one, so I got a Vito bag, you know. But you don't have to go expensive. That's what I like, the moral of the story. The moral of the story, the moral of the video. Right, that's it for another video. I hope you got something out of it. I hope you like it. I hope you can subscribe and all that sort of jazz. Anyway, if you're going to be anything, then be electric. Up the old blues, you know. See you later. Thanks for watching.